Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. Well, today we're going to be looking at the light and the dark. And I want to, before we begin, just to remind you what Ra often said to us, which was, you got to think about it. So you've really got to think about what it is that you know about yourself, rather than trying to control the body, but to just follow your strategy and authority, to follow the energy that's in you. And we start off with a question from the Allure Academy. There's quite a long preamble to this comment where they were saying they wanted to lose weight. They did a lot of exercise, they lost weight, but then they couldn't keep it up. This is a passive mind, receptive body. So 3 right arrows, and the left arrow is just in the how they view things, their perspective. So very passive as a design. So it's not surprising with 3 right arrows that the continuous exercise was not something that the body really wanted to do all the time. However, in the preamble, they say that, you know, they get very pent up about what's going on in the world and what's going on around them, being so receptive, taking it all in, that they feel they've just got to move. Now, we've got external markets, so going out of the home is a good idea. Absolutely, it's a good idea. And going for a walk, going for a wander with a passive receptive body, then this is absolutely right. That's exactly what you do. You go for a walk. And the other thing to bear in mind is that there is indirect light as a dietary regime. Okay, having gone through that, let's look at the question. If you could suggest a routine to calm one in times of upheaval, seeing what's going on in the world, especially for right beings, because we take it all in, what would it be? I stopped taking in the news, but sometimes it makes me feel like I'm insensitive to what's going on when I'm only trying to protect myself. I had quite an emotionally charged upbringing, and certain things set off my alarm system, loud voices, shouting, etc. Growing up and realizing that I can't have quiet all the time is heartbreaking. How can my design help, or other modalities? Okay, thank you for this question. So again, you have to think about it. Your authority is a sacral response in the now. You have the busy channel, the 3420, which basically wants to be busy about whatever they want to be busy about. And you've also got this channel of transformation, which is a pressure to move up the material and spiritual ladder. So there is this pressure here, which going into the spleen means that some kind of physical exercise is going to be good for you. And as I said, walking is a good one because you've got external markets. Notice that because you have indirect light as a cognition, you're going to have more energy as the sun goes down. So your energy is going to pick up when a lot of people's energy is going to be going down. You know, this contrary nature that you have to those around you. So what can I suggest for you? If we look at the head center, we find the 61. If we look at the conceptual center, we find we have the 47 and the 43. So we've got an acoustic aspect to the mind. And I would be going towards music or frequencies. You get these wonderful frequencies that are based on the original natural frequencies for the human body. For example, 434 hertz, unlike the 440 that music has been amped up into, which is dissonant. These kind of frequencies are going to help you. They're going to help you mentally, they're going to help you physically. And you can go to music.wholetones.com and get yourself a little speaker where you can play the classic album, which is the one I like, which I use when I'm doing accounts or whatever. It sets up a frequency that is healing while I'm doing monotonous work. I find that very useful. The other thing is you're taking in a lot of negative energy from the outside, or you were. You don't watch the news anymore, you say, but you were. So there's a lot of fear-mongering going on in the mainstream. One thing that may help you is to go to Messenger Telegram, telegram.org, and download that app, and then put in different words for the feeds that will give you positive information. Because despite what we're told, there is actually a lot of very good things going on at this time as well, and you're not going to hear about it in the mainstream. So that's something I use to help lift me. You know, when I think things are getting really bad, I look at that and I go, well, you know, there's some good things happening too. There are some good changes happening as well. Regarding keeping calm, bear in mind that you have an open solar plex, and you have the 6 and you have the 49, and especially the 49. These are tribal filters. So there will be this building and bursting pattern that's accumulated over your life, where you just got to get the energy out. You know, you want to scream and shout at something. And you're right, you know, that's something that you need to do now and again to get in touch with that feeling. It's the same thing if you want to get in touch with some of the more loving feelings, to put on something from YouTube that has that content in it that will make you laugh and make you cry, or whatever it may be, but something from the outside to help move that through. When you have an open solar plex, there's this tendency to hold on to things, especially with the 49, holding on to the negative things. So getting it out, moving it out, shifting it with frequency, going for a walk, moving the body, moving your attention away from the negative towards the positive, to find out what it is in your life or around your acquaintances, because you are a fourth line. You know, what's going on with them? You know, find some positive people for your network and have a chat with them. You know, surround yourself with the right people. You have an open G center. You know, where you are is really important. Where you are. So where you are, if you're in the right place, you're going to be around the right people. And you need the support from people who have a more positive look on life, who are doing things that are productive and constructive, who are moving in their life in the way that you want to move in your life. And yes, it can be unconventional. There are many movements and interests and groups that are coming together to create lifestyles that are not dependent on the current system that we've got. And I think you may find that interesting and nourishing. When you ask me for a routine, there's not a lot about your design that really wants to keep to a routine. So, I mean, there isn't in me either. Although I have a certain amount of discipline in me, I don't have the fifth gate. There's not an endless looking to repeat something sacrally, and certainly not you. You've got a fully individual sacral. So no, it's really about the moment for you. You know, the moment you go, okay, I'm getting out of here, I'm going for a walk, you know, that's what motivates you. That's what gets you out. When you got to move. So you move when you got to move. I would also, as I've said many times on this channel, it's also of great benefit to move out and be around nature, to detach yourself from the EMF frequencies around the computers, and for God's sake, leave your phone behind, leave the electronic devices that we have around us so much of the time, leave it behind, walk in the natural rhythm. That often helps to calm us down. So walking in nature is something that would be very useful to you. And because you don't have an interactive body as such, you know, going out there on your own is also fine. You know, enjoy the walk, enjoy the breathing of the fresh air, enjoy the change when you come back. You know, you've changed because you've been moving, because you're out there. If you can find a place on your walking that is just a beautiful pet place, perhaps it has some sort of seat or somewhere where you can sit down and be comfortable, maybe that's a place you go to chill, to find your own chill place away from it all. So that's off the top of my head, that's what I can think of at the moment. And I hope that's been helpful. Thank you for the question. Our next question is from a regular, Alves, who's asking about direct light digestion and what's going on with that. Here's the question. I have the direct light digestion, but since I was a child, I was used to eat at night. That's how we were raised. Only recently, I have changed to almost never eating after the sunset, if I can. I am still experiencing with it, but it does make a difference. If I eat at night, it will be very hard on my stomach to digest the food without feeling unwell somehow. If I am really hungry or if I need to take something into my body for any nutritional purpose, I usually drink some almond milk or soy milk, but I also drink tea and water. But anything else will make me feel unwell. So about the conditioning, I wanted to ask if during the early stages of my life, I was always able to eat at night because I was conditioned to do so, or if there was any biological change in my digestion in the present stage of my life around the Saturn return. Does this life stage make it more obvious that I am a direct light digestion person? For example, does this life stage require me somehow to be as aligned as possible with my true nature? I would love some insight on this if possible, to understand how conditioning and digestion are related, or if my experience so far may be related to the current life stage. Okay, Alves, thank you for the question. I think it's really at Saturn return that all of us really begin to get a handle on what's working and what isn't working in our life. You know, up until then, there's, as you said, there's a lot of conditioning. It's not easy to find out what is going on. We're so deeply subjective and caught up with so many things until we get to our Saturn return. It's only when we go out into the world that we begin to meet our limitations and also find out what we can really be good at and what we can enjoy. So is there a biological change at the Saturn return, 28 to 30 years old, in digestion? No, there isn't. You have been born to be a eater in the light, and it will remain so. So yes, you can eat in the evening, but the food is going to stay heavy on the stomach. You talk about feeling unwell. Well, yes, that's the reality. Think about how insensitive we can be to our natural way of being if we don't know the information, if we don't think about it. So I would put that to one side as conditioning, and do as you are already doing, concentrate on eating in the sunlight, to eat before the sun goes down. You say you're noticing changes and you're feeling better. If you keep on with the experiment, because I'm also a light eater, if you keep on with the experiment, you'll find you get more sensitive. Now, that's a good and a bad thing. You know, you can be more sensitive to not self energies. You know, you can be more sensitive to more subtle energies. So you're on the journey to become more sensitive, whether you like it or not. If you eat incorrectly at night, well, then you're going to close down more. So that's what I would say to you in that one. And regarding the light regime, I will address that in our next question. Okay, thanks, Alves. The next question is from Jen. May I ask about direct light digestion? Does this mean eating sitting right in the light, or just ideally eating when the sun is up? Does this also mean activity and exercise? Do I do best doing things and learning things while the sun is up? I have noticed in the past that I was better able to control my weight when I ate my heaviest meal in the middle of the day. And I've never liked being up late or waking up when it's still dark out. I always wake up feeling depressed. Is there anything else I need to know? Okay, Jen, so perfect that you asked this after Alves has already asked her question. So, and as I said, I am a light digestion eater too. So what happens is you need to have the sunlight on your skin. So it means eating near a window. And if it's a nice day, eating outside. The sun will help you to digest the food, to select the food that you're eating, the nutrients that you actually need, and leaving the others behind. So you'll also notice not only do you get more sensitive if you stay with this regime, but also your brain works better, your body works better. You know, you have more energy. And going to bed earlier, if you feel to do that, then yes, that's fantastic. That's absolutely what it is. To avoid eating in artificial light if you can. To avoid eating in the dark, obviously. You'll just notice it. You know, the more insensitive you'll become if you eat in the dark, the more sensitive you become if you eat in the light, the healthier you become. So it's really quite simple in that regard. And you say, do you need to exercise? Do you need to move? Well, yes. Physical exercise is going to be important for anyone who has a body, including light eaters. And your kind of exercise, according to the chart that I've got, you didn't give me your place of birth, but I've estimated it, and it looks like you have a passive body. So the exercise would be rebounder, walking, again, walking, wandering around with that open G. And also you have the fifth gate. So you could bring in something more regular into your life if you enjoy walking, to go out at a certain time, again, depending on how you feel. But movement, yeah, for sure is going to be needed. So yes, having sunlight on the body, sunlight on the arms, on the face, on the back of the neck, if you can do that as well, all this is going to be good. That's what you need. Okay, so thank you for the questions on exercise and digestion. And now we move into the DreamRave and the question of fear. This is another question from Alves. I wanted to ask about the concept of fear versus the feeling of fear. Throughout my life, I can say that I have had very little dreams where I actually felt fear. I don't usually have nightmares. My dreams are often very supernatural, and I see things in my dreams that would most likely be scary or considered nightmares for other people, but they don't scare me personally. I can feel physical sensations in my dreams sometimes as well. I have felt physical pain, for example, but even that wasn't scary. Sometimes inside the dream, I know that I am dreaming, so this may be related to not feeling scared. But this doesn't happen every single time, only sometimes. So I wanted to ask, how does the fear theme appear in our dreams? If not to give us nightmares, haha, what is this fear about? Thanks for the questions, Alves. Another one? All right, let's go into the DreamRave and this area. Fear in the mammal is really the fear of survival. So the 28th gate is a fear of life not having any purpose in a human being. But in the DreamRave, it's about, am I going to survive? Am I going to die? It's really life and death. So life and death scenarios are going to show up in the dream. And it may not be scary in the same way as it might be in the real life. In the real life, if your life is in danger, you know, you got to take some action, probably, or be very still. In the dream, you're going through one episode after another. So there can often be this adrenaline that comes through you when you're running for your life, but you're in a dream. It's like the adrenals are moving you forward to survive, to get through this obstacle, to get through this challenge. I remember a time when I was very young, when I had a dream of a lot of what looked like very negative creatures coming towards me, ferocious creatures en masse. And I was terrified in the dream at the time. And I didn't want to go back to sleep again. I think I was about, I don't know, 8 or 9, something like that. But, you know, being that age, you know, eventually I got tired and I thought, well, I've just got to go to sleep. And they came back again. But this time I was really tired and I didn't do anything. And they came and they went. And I realized, like, hey, they didn't do me any harm. And then when they came again, it was like I wasn't bothered. because I knew they could do me no harm. And in that sense, I just dropped the whole thing. I haven't had such a dream again since. So think about it in terms of physical survival, and yet when you're in the dream, it's part of an episodal process that we go through. As I said before, it's kind of conditioning us, conditioning you on the 28th, so that you will take action in your waking life. And my advice is, don't do that. Stay true to your natural inner authority and realize that, yeah, it's not about fear in the sense that it would be as a waking person, because then you get real consequences. You know, you get hurt, for example. In the dream, it's really about getting the adrenal system working within the dreamscape. And remember, everyone is a watered down version of the personality. So we don't have our full 26 characteristics in the DreamRave. It's just part of us. So it'll depend upon your own chart, what is activated. Another way to look at the fear in the 28 is that in the DreamRave, we are here in, as I said, in these episodes where we have to get through it. Now, when I sleep, I have the full channel of struggle. So for me, it's episodes of, you know, getting through impossible situations again and again. And often it's realizing that I'm in the dream that I then wake up and come out of it. But because I know what the DreamRave does, I don't give it too much energy. I don't give it too much importance in my waking life. And it's possible that you've also been through this with the 28 in your chart. So it's like, well, this is just part of it. You know, I don't have to get too worked up. I don't have to be bothered about it because I'm going to wake up sooner or later. If you think about fear as an adrenaline trigger, if you think about it in that way, and adrenaline is something that rises when we need to do something, when we have to do something. Now, one of the things that Ra mentioned about our dreaming is tied to our dietary regime, which kind of nicely brings together the topics for this session. Have you noticed that if you're not drinking enough fluids, if you're not drinking enough water, that you tend to have more intense dreams, or more anxious dreams, or more adrenal dreams? And if you are really experimenting with your daylight regime, then the chances are that you're coming back into your correct order. And in that sense, you're not going to be so over-tangled up in the dreams. They're not going to be so nightmarish. But if you don't drink enough water, as an example, or if you eat after dark a lot, you'll probably find your dreams are more difficult to get through, and you may experience fear in different ways where it's harder for you to get out of it. So that's what I would say to that. I hope that's been helpful. And remember, you're here to be alive. You're a projector, you know, you're here for the life, and the life isn't about the dreaming. All right, thanks for the question, Alice. Our final question is from 5Cat, and they ask also about their variables. What are the best resources to learn the practical application of variables? For example, I have alternative appetite determination, internal markets, innocence motivation, and power perspective. All right arrows except environment. What are the healthiest ways of functioning with these variables? Okay, 5Cat. So one of the best resources I think is out there is what I've put out in the my recent app. So if you go to humandesignrave.com, you will find all the advanced descriptions, and I've done my best to keep them succinct and accurate, so you can know about them from my point of view anyway, and hopefully that will be useful. In your specific case, and this will not be for everyone, so I'm not going to spend too long on it, the alternating appetite, then your food needs to be really simple, and you eat a bit of this and then a bit of that and a bit of the other in food that's been separated on the plate. Internal markets means that, you're doing your work mainly at home. Your home base is going to be very important. Your dealing happens, and in your own business, which is part of your home. So you don't have to keep going out all the time. Innocence motivation, just be aware of when it flips and transfers to desire. Are you making decisions about, what you really desire, or are you coming to whatever it may be with an innocent motivation, open to seeing what will happen? And the power perspective, if that's twisted, then you're going to see things far too personally. You're going to take things too personally in terms of the transference, whereas you're actually here to see the power plays, the winners and the losers. To be able to see that is the way that you're here to see. So that's just a very quick overview, but hopefully that will be helpful. And hopefully this video has been helpful for people watching it, for some of you anyway. And if it has, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back again next week with something completely different. See you then. Bye for now.